Hi, this is Candle Vex. I'm on G, which is the 7th theme, and this theme is teaching you social skills. The previous was about, personal skills, I can call it character building. Social skills, the one that I've chosen is about responsibility. I love this little insider joke on it that I am the most responsible person in my house. Anything goes wrong, I am responsible. A lot of our kids are like that, isn't it? This is a personal favorite in terms of teaching children to be able to stand up and own a task. A lot of time we are brushing off things to others. When a team succeeds, then you take responsibility. Oh, I have did a great thing. When a team fails, you might hide. And that is not a responsible position. A good leader or a good captain, a good pilot is someone who owns up responsibility. I have not introduced a concept of video watch, but if you were to talk about some amazing videos of sports movies or a movie about Tom Hanks which he talks about, the flight landing on the Hudson River. These are great movies where people are owning up and responsibility is taken up. So you can talk about one of the movie I'm talking about, the Hudson River movie is Sully. The movie's name is Sully, Miracle on the Hudson. You can start talking about it, that it's a movie about this pilot which is actually acted by Tom Hanks by someone called Sullenberger, and he had a vulture hitting his airline as soon as he took up. And the plane had an engine failed and the plane could not land. Mayday, it's called Mayday in the time when it's absolutely crisis situation, and he didn't know what to do. If he tries to go and land this in the nearest airstrip, most likely the plane would go up in flames. He didn't have so much fuel. It was going on just on a spur of second. Look at the decision making he took. He took the decision to land the plane on the Hudson River, and every single passenger terrified, but the lives were saved. The movie is about people, there were legal case on him. They thought he did a wrong thing, but after all the simulation and after all the looking at the conditions around, they said this was the only thing that a great pilot could have done. This story is very powerful. You can talk about Sully, you can show them some clips of the movie, and you can show them what it is to be responsible. Being responsible is as simple as brushing your teeth or cleaning your mess, we spoke about in the last theme, but also about things you own and you are responsible for it. As a child, I always loved pets, and the only condition my mother had was, if you want a pet, you can have it, but you will have to be responsible for it. If you forget to feed the dog, if you forget to take it to the vet, if you forget to take it for a walk, if the dog becomes sick, you are responsible. I don't know how many of you like, but there was a beautiful quote Ned Stark said to his son when they wanted to adopt these dire wolves from the Song of Ice and Fire. He said, if you want it, they are your wolves, you take care of them, you feed them, if they die, you bury them. So using that concept, I have taken up this entire G1 and G2, which is about a pet. So you can start talking about what are the pets that you have. Most of them will not have pets, some of them may have pets. Irrespective, say at least we start with adopting a pet. It could be a pet dog or a pet cat. I have given an example of a pet cat, a kitten here. We start with saying simple things like name your kitten, would you like to keep a leash on the kitten, what food would you provide, go online and check out what pedigree is, don't just feed anything to a kid, don't overfeed it, find out how do you play with your pet, how do you use to clean, so there should be grooming techniques, there are combs, there are vaccinations that a pet should have. The idea is you are responsible for your pet. So, you are making these conversations, these stories, and telling them that as a child, even if you are a student, being responsible starts with small things. It could be a goldfish, it could be hamsters, it could be a pet dog. And if the kids love animals, you can have an entire theme on what pets are popular and what usually are names for a common pet. So what can 5 names for a cat or a dog, why do people name dog tigers, it's nice interesting conversation you can have. My G2 is about a pet itself, and it's a nice picture. It's not a very scientific picture, but it's a picture which says where to touch a cat and when not to touch a cat. Look at the words. For example, if you look at a tail, it says never. What happens if you stamp on a cat's tail? It's as simple as stamping on a snake. The cat will pounce and bite you. Perhaps some of the pet cats will not mind it. You have trained it accordingly. They love being patted on the back or on the head, and it's very nice. So suggest 3 things that a cat loves, mention 3 things the cat hates. They look at a picture and they just discuss this entire conversation of what you know. The whole point being, if you're owning a pet, the entire skill of being responsible, you should know what a pet needs and you should know what a pet does not need. So this is my first G1 and G2 exercise with a pet. I know some of the teachers have bought a pet to a class. It could be a kitten, it could be a rat, it could be a hamster. I think if you can do that, you are pulling a rabbit out of a hat, a great trick, and your class would never be the same with just a pet in your class. But that's a big ask for some of you, so I would not insist on it. My next activity on social skill and responsibility is an activity, simple one, again called in G3 is people who help us. Now it may look a very ordinary activity, but these are social helpers. Now let me quickly do over with the exercise and then I'll tell you what are the side tracks, because most of you are hearing the audio not for looking at the picture and what to do, but what else can I engage for a 40-minute session on this one page alone. Social helpers are all around us. And I've just put some common pictures of children right from the page, right? So you have this girl dressed as a flight attendant, you have a chef, you have a firefighter, oh, there's an alien in between, there is a police officer, there is a construction worker, there is a doctor, and there is perhaps a mason or a plumber, anyone that can be. So these are common social helpers. The only one who does not belong is an alien, and we say today a lot of us are alien when it comes to certain social skills. Let's use the social skill of technology. How many of us are now so dependent on technology that we can't think of simple things like, so this is my side activity 1, my simple exercise of say fixing a tube light or putting a nail in. So do you have any exercise of DIY things? Can you change a light bulb? Can you go buy something else? So today technology has replaced a lot of jobs. Can you give an example of 5 such jobs? Number 2 side point is I would like you to do a case study on a company called Urban Clap or anything that you can think of. Another company is called Fiverr. I'll tell you the difference between the two. Urban Clap is someone saw a need that today we need artists for painting your house, we need painters, we need plumbers, we need carpenters, we need electricians, we need different kind of people just to have a household thing. You might need a meditation therapist or a yoga exercise or a simple thing like repairing your clocks. So Urban Clap saw the need, and Urban Clap is an online app where you can book an AC mechanic or a plumber and they will come home and they will fix things for you. A great change in the helping people. I would like you to go online, check out the Urban Clap, and the kids can find out what are the 3 jobs they could have outsourced or they think of something. I'm teaching them entrepreneurship, I'm teaching them skill development, I'm teaching them vocational education. Fiverr is very similar, but it is more on the artistic part of it. What I mean by artistic part is I want a logo creation, a website to be done. I want somebody to copyright my material for the brochure. I want to be a proofreader. These are a blog post. So Fiverr, you can post what you need. People will quote how much they will charge for it, and you can choose them. These are 2 really good apps on people with social help and social responsibility. And this is where I want you to take a lot of time, take printouts, go online. If you have a laptop connected to a projector, show them these apps and let them make a case study on either or both of the 2 applications. The last thing is, how many social helpers have you acknowledged and thanked them? So when you say responsibility, let's say fire station. Maybe as kid in kindergarten on grade 1 we would have gone to fire station. That's the last time we ever went to anything like that. How about making a small gesture of us thank you, not a card, I'm not here, I'm saying an email to your local fire station and saying, look, I may not have visited you, but look, I came long time back, but I appreciate your helping us. Ask them to draft an email, send it across to the local municipality, local fire station, local ambulance worker, someone who they have not interacted, and last thing I would like to do is first. So second one was appreciation letter after the DIY technology and urban clap and Fiverr, and the third one I would like to do is, can they make a list of at least 10 new jobs of social workers who are not listed here. It's a great exercise. You can create 2 teams and each team compete, and you can give anywhere between 1, 2 and 3 points of how important these jobs are. So let's say the garbage picker is not there. So they said garbage picker, I'll give the 3 point to them. But maybe a newspaper vendor who comes and picks up newspapers, very common in India, you might give a 1 pointer because that's not such a huge social work. So let them find out some jobs and you can give a point and they can just have a competition around it. So this was my G3 1 page, but there's so many things you could do around it. The last 2 is about another responsibility, G4 and G5, and this is about how good Samaritan you are. How Samaritan is a word you use for someone who's helping others. So you see an old lady crossing a road, you stop down and you walk down, or you see a child crying and you go and help the child. Anything, you see a trash being lying on the ground and you pick up a trash. So I've created a small picture. It's just a representation. How many nails can you count? And if you see a lot of nails lying there, what would you do? The ideal situation would be you will alert somebody, you will pick somebody up, and you will brush the nails aside in a dustbin. Today, these skills are very important in age of terrorism and threats looming around, or people unidentified bags. So you're creating an image that, see, social skill is not about just a bag lying and being afraid of it, but maybe somebody lost a bag. Today we are living in an age of fear, and I would like them to convert the fear into good things. There is a very good video on YouTube which says Circle of Life. It's a song also by John Alton. You remember the Simba, the Lion King movie. But what it says, if you do one good help and somebody notices you doing help, he most likely will do a favor to someone else. So now what happens is a chain of dominoes effect you're doing. I just helped an old lady cross, somebody saw, so he helped a child crying. Somebody saw that child, somebody fell down, he picked up the books around. Somebody saw that and he just smiled at others. Somebody saw someone smiling, and like that a chain goes on. So this is what I'm calling a circle of life. Why don't you make a big chart paper and ask them again to give me 12 circle exercise. So on a normal busy route, how can 12 people help 12 strangers? And it's a chain effect, it's a dominoes effect. G5 says the same thing, but there's a huge rock, and I'm just making a simple concept here. Who would be the best person to help remove the rock? It could be a monster, a giant, it could be an elephant, of course you don't have them here. It could be a crane coming in if it's that big, or a small spade can help. Another YouTube video I really recommend to see is on a national patriotism, where a log blocks an entire traffic and everybody is cursing. There is a politician who has arranged himself another car, so he'll just cross over the track. People are fighting, they're honking, they're irritated. Finally, a young schoolboy, it's raining as well, goes and tries lifting the log. And of course he cannot lift the log, it's too heavy. So some street urchins, some young boys on the street, they come and help, and they're just enjoying. Looking at these young fellows, small kids doing it, some of the corporate people feel ashamed or feel encouraged, and they come and help, and the boys and the men and the women, they join in, and ultimately everyone lifts the log here. This is called corporate social responsibility. People think that it is others' job, nobody will do it. If you think it's everyone's job, we will do it. Well, I'll end up with one story you can tell to your kids. It is a story of a king who wanted to see how socially aware his kingdom was, his people were. So he says, because we are facing a drought, he dug a big pot or hole in the ground, of course a properly cemented one. He said, please come and pour 1 glass of milk in this. Whenever he fills milk in, we'll know that we have enough food to feed at least the younger students, people. And he said, do it in the middle of the night. So everyone told themselves that, everyone's going to put 1 glass of milk. How will they know if I put 1 glass of water? So in the middle of the night, everyone thought that I will not be noticed, and they poured 1 glass of water in that huge pit. In the morning, when the king and the people saw, they were astonished, ashamed, embarrassed, humiliated that there was nothing but water in the pit. which showed that everyone thought that my one glass will not make a difference, and that is how the whole pit, it reflected the society we are living in. So if you don't do your bit of one glass of milk, don't expect others to do their bit, and everyone will be ending up ashamed and defeated. So this is a responsibility that we would like you to do. Hopefully we'll become more responsible after these social skills. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Candle Violet Wax. This is the entire 21st century that we are learning, and I'm sure you've been reading and listening to all these podcasts. Today we are doing a very interesting topic on cooperation, which is our H theme. So we are looking at theme number H, and I was just counting the numbers. So F is 6, G is 7, this is 8 theme. There are 13 themes. Remember 13 reasons why. For certain challenging norms, we put 13 themes together, and this particular theme is called core living values. What we are teaching them in H1 and H2 is essentially something that a naturalist learner will love to talk about, is on symbiotic relationship. Now symbiosis, of course, besides being the college very popular one, is a term that is used when two creatures mutually benefit each other and they actually help each other in various ways. So symbiosis, is a very, very natural thing, and it's very surprising how these animals are naturally helping each other. So if you are teaching a class on symbiosis, I would love you to talk about this word and say that are you interdependent on one another? You are perhaps interdependent on your cable operator or your internet provider, and internet provider takes money from you. So in human system, the barter is always the exchange of, say, a physical good or a money. But symbiosis in animal world does not require that currency that created by human beings. So it requires a kind of a source of perhaps protection or food. So let's take the example of this beautiful symbiotic relationship of the rhino and the bird, which is popularly called the oxpecker. Remember woodpecker? Alright, so this is just oxpecker, ox, yes. So what it does is, rhino is a big animal, and of course it's intimidating. So when you approach an animal like that, you might be scared, you might not want to approach it. But yet these birds are very comfortable sitting on the skin or the armor of the rhino and pick up lices and ticks. So the relationship is rhino, so remember the slogan we have, there are no free lunches. Yeah, exactly. There is not a free lunch for the bird. The bird is getting a favor by getting ridden on a rhino, protected by other predators, doesn't have to fly around, and the rhino is getting a free massage, a spa kind of thing with the lices. The same bird also is a friend of zebras. So along with rhinos, you also have zebras. Both of them, if you understand rhino and zebra, they are what we call ungulates. Ungulates are a species like horses which chew their food and have hoofs. This is a side point for those who are really interested in biology. But all I'm asking you is, when you teach a subject like that, you would have to use a lot of communication and conversations, and this is my first part of symbiotic relationship. The second creature is a underworld creature, and of course it's a Nemo fish. So it's a clownfish having a symbiotic relationship with corals or sea anemones. Basically what happens is, when these fishes go to these corals, the coral might snap, or the tentacles of the coral are so sharp that it will kill a fish. However, the clownfish is the only fish that's allowed to swim through it. So for a clownfish, it gets protection from other predators, and for the sea ammonia and the tentacles and the sea urchins, it gets the clownfish clean itself. Wow! So you see, the world works in a unique way. Not only on land, but under the water, under the sea, there are these huge symbiotic relationships. Let me continue. So now another, perhaps a reptile, so it's not land and sea, it's in between. These huge crocodiles open their mouths, and there are these birds that can actually sit inside. And to me, this is one of the most strangest symbiotic relationship. These birds are called plover bird. Actually, the real full name is Egyptian plover bird, Plover. Now for crocodile, it is said that crocodile will first snap his mouth and then decide was it right or wrong. But except for this bird, the crocodile quietly sits up, and this is more like a dentist to the crocodile. It goes and picks the gums and all the remaining flesh and all the other ingredients. Crocodile cannot brush its teeth. The plover bird does it for the crocodile. Amazing, isn't it? You don't need to pay, and the plover bird gets its food, and the crocodile gets a free dental treatment. The next one, of course, is a relationship underwater again by this shark and what we call remora fish. Remora fish are also called pad fish or sticky fishes. They stick itself to the shark, and for the simple thing that they get free transport. So it's an Uber or an Ola ride without paying for it. It's very interesting. What does the shark get? Perhaps shark gets good company. Shark gets, again, the fishes, rub itself as a nice massage, or a shark is just find some friends because it doesn't have a lot of friends. Sharks are not very friendly creatures. They don't live in pairs like dolphins or whales. So every relationship has this unique point and difference. After you show these, you can actually ask them to at least get one more of a symbiotic relationship in nature. I can give you a couple of them. One of them is a very common one, the bear and the anteater or the badger. The badger or the anteater, they also want to eat honey, but they know where to find the honey, but the bees sting, they can't bear it. So they find a grizzly bear or a brown bear, and they show the way to the bear, and the bear goes and ruptures the honey's hive, and all the animals, the badger, the bear and the anteater, they enjoy honey together. It's a great symbiotic relationship. Another one on similar nature is about these hyenas and wolves. Now wolves are usually the ones who hunt in packs. Hyenas, or actually these are African dogs also, they also have packs, but once in a while they come together. And that's strange, they come together to hunt a larger animal like, say, a wild buffalo or a bison, which otherwise will be difficult for them to hunt. They are predators, they are enemies of one another, but that's a relationship. I will form alliances to attack another species. So let these children find out one. They can Google it if your class allows it. They can think about an animal like that. Some naturalists will be there. You will find Darwins in your class. But then what I want them to do, a good exercise, is let them make a column, and in the column let them write all these 4 or 5 the symbiotic relationship. Let them write key features and which one they found very special and why. So they can write on land, underwater, the animals are dangerous, this is very dangerous, this is very useful for this creature, for the crocodile it's very useful, for the bird it may be very risky. Let them find pros and cons of this symbiotic relationship, present the chart to the class, and hopefully that will be a very good exercise in working together. Let's take the exercise further. The next 2 pages, H3 and H4, talks about team sports. Now, of course, you see, it's a very simple picture where they have to identify what are these team sports and which ones are played individually. And you can go ahead and find out so many sports around. If I can go from the beginning, on the left hand corner, there is this entire ice skiing that they go down, and it's an individual sports. I have got beach volleyball, a journal volleyball, which is a team sport. This could represent anything. It might be a rowing team here, but it could be just basketball for that matter. Basketball just below it. There is a Formula 1 F1 racing, which also, by the way, is a team sport. If you want to do a case study on H3, I will encourage you to do a team sport FTT and F1. What looks like just one driver driving a McLaren or a Ferrari car actually has so many technicians, so many people at the pit stop, so many people at refueling, so many people at strategy level, only planning on how a F1 can be driven. For example, if you know, there are wet tires and dry tires. So if the track is wet, and an F1 track, then the tires are changed, and in a pit stop you only get, say, around 8 seconds or perhaps less. You can do research on changing the tires, cleaning it, improving the car, any technical defect is there. It's an amazing, if the kids can make a small presentation on an F1 team sport, I'll be amazed with it. One last thing is they can find out the names of all the F1 races that are happening around the world. I know one Monaco one, there is one in Bahrain, there is Abu Dhabi track, there is a popular one in Paris. So you can find where the F1 tracks are. Right below is cricket, swimming, basketball, football and horse riding. And then you have three great sports. We have Mary Kom showing in a boxing. They may not identify her with a sport, so they should identify the lady there. Again, we have Indian football, and then we have got our own wrestler. Right? So these are the kind of sports that you're talking about, and the exercise you will do is on F1. Simple one on H4 is about the guess the game from the picture. So there are around 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 balls here, or 8 equipments here. Find out which ones are these. So if I can start with the yellow one, it's a tennis one, and we are doing tennis. So tennis is perhaps a single, or when I say few, you can keep few or 2 players. Again, badminton, shuttle, again a single or 2 player game. Football, definitely a team game. You have something called a puck. A puck is used in hockey. So you have hockey as a team game. It's a national sport of India. Then you have got a baseball. So the white one with the stitches is a baseball. Again a team sport. And you can ask the number of players in each of them. For example, basketball. How many players in a basketball team? And the right answer is 5. So that's again a team sport. Golf, of course, is a single player game. And then we have the American football or the rugby, which is again a team sport. So they can give me 5 more players, 5 more team members. You can ask the number of players. Some rules can come in. It's just an exercise for them to understand that working together, cooperation is a huge important step in a team sport. Even if a sport like badminton is played alone, so you have PV Sindhu or Sania Nehwal playing a badminton alone, there are coaches, there are mental fitness regimes, there are psychiatrists happening, there are travel agents, there are managers. So you see, a single player in today's time is not single alone. She is still occupied with a lot of people around it. They can perhaps make a small, a game where one of them act as a player. It's a role play I would like them to do, and one of them becomes a mental conditioning coach, one a coach, one assistant coach, one a technician who does the analytics, one is a travel manager, one is the resource person, and one is just a friend. So that's the kind of roles you can think of in working together. The last exercise, H5 and H6, is again on team, but I've just made a little separate because we say a team has a lot of things in common. What are the common things you can find in a team? Believe me, I want the answer for H5 is number 1 is a goal. The most important thing that a team is united by is a goal. What's your vision? What's your one objective? For example, the football team that comes together, it is combining to win that FIFA World Cup. They may come from different states. One may play for Barcelona, one may play for Real Madrid, one may play from other club. But then it's not just the jerseys. These are binding forces. But the goal is what makes you together. It could be an army that's a team. You wear camouflage uniforms, but the goal is defeating the enemy. So this is a team here. They are called the Tigers. You can ask them to rename them. They can call Titan Tigers, Avengers Tigers, Florida Tigers. The t-shirt color, what it could be, does that represent anything of a tiger stripe? What the logo is? Can they find out who the sponsor is, which is a very important question. Looking at them, of course, you can see what football game they play. So a lot of things comes in a team sport. You can ask them why are the numbers and what are the numbers represent. Of course, they're very popular numbers usually on the back of people's t-shirt. CR7 as Cristiano Ronaldo. They can choose their favorite numbers. They can find out why the numbers are popular. And as I said, how many people play football? There are 11 members play football. So why is the number more? So you always talk about reserve players, extra players, how opportunities you get. So as a team, you will have to bide your time. You will not always be the prominent one. Some of them will be superstars. Some of them will play the role of supporting stars. But that's what makes a great team. You don't get all Air Jordans in one basketball team, or not all one Ronaldos in one football team. There are Xavis and there are Iniestas and there are Suarez who gives those passes, and that's the kind of team we are creating around. Now you can think of this. Take the extended word H6. where we have taken up a football team, but we've chosen a very different picture. It's a New Zealand girls football team. Why do you think they're happy? Perhaps they're celebrating the goal. What is the color of the jersey and how is it representing from the country's color? So we are looking at New Zealand. They have just re-christened their flag. The old flag was having an Australian star, a British symbol. They have put a fern, which is one of the national symbols. Which other country have a maple leaf? So you can talk about Canada and their flag. And New Zealand are called the black caps or the Kiwis. Find out why are they called the Kiwis, an extinct bird. What's about the black cap, which is the Maoris. They have a traditional Maori dance also. New Zealand was in the news because of the recent shooting in the mosque. You can take that, and how does the community and the Prime Minister in particular responded to it. There's so much tangents just to talk about it. Can a nation be a team? And New Zealand really showed that nation could be a team in the face of some lunatic who shoots people down. They will not bog down, and it was great gesture across the entire nation, a small nation, yet how it showed the world what true working together and cooperation could be. The rest of the theme is on gender equality, that do girls play better than boys? How is the girls' representation in Olympics? And why do you think that the girls' sports should also be encouraged? They have their own values, their own areas of preferences. What are the sports girls are in? For example, if you look at lawn tennis, there's always been a debate that the women players are paid less than the men player. So it could be a Serena Williams complaining that Rafa Nadal gets more. And you could argue, you can have a class debate. Is it true? Is it right? Is it acceptable? Or in this today's time, pink is the new blue? So this brings us to an end of all the things that we spoke about, core living values, from symbiotic relationship of animals to what kind of teams do we have and who or what makes a team. And the last question was, can a nation be a team? And then gender equality. I hope you enjoy this session. Give your feedback as always. We look forward to it. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome to Candle Wax Violet, and today we are on a very important lesson. It's on public speaking. Believe me, one of the themes that I'm so encouraged to do as an entire course is public speaking. Being an author of the book Talk, I understand that today one of the biggest reasons our students, our children are not able to ace interviews or go and do presentations, perhaps a mock UN at school or a mini Toastmaster, is the lack of confidence in front of audience. By the way, public speaking is fear number 1. Fear number 2 is the fear of death, and number 3 is that of spiders. But we need to make our students come out of the shell, speak and enjoy the process of speaking. So we have taken a theme I on public speaking. It's a very small theme, as in we have got very simple ideas for students to talk on, and we started saying about the word startle. Now startle maybe just be a start of it, that a good public speaker is able to get emotions, people can get excited about it, and that's what startle is. So I1, the first of the public speaking, is just a pictorial representation. It is nothing but what we did in preschools on show and tell. So you have an object and they speak about an object. Here we have a picture speak. This picture is about 3 children playing on the sand in a sunny day on beach. That's exactly what we want the children to speak on. How do you plan your speech? So we will do a speech in 3 parts. Part 1 of my speech will be just what I call plain talk. So all they do is look at the picture and describe the picture, but they have to come in front of the audience or your classroom and they just describe the picture. So give them a minute to see what they see and then come and describe. So, hello friends, I see a wonderful lovely day with 3 children playing on a beach on a sand with their own sand toys, and they are enjoying, they're smiling. Is vacation, summertime. It's a plain talk. I don't expect any emotions, but although we would have added something, but that's fine. Number 2 is I want them to now give an emotional talk on the same part, that the kids are, after the exam. So you give a small context. The context is they finish the exams, and because the exams are over, they have earned this leave and they're coming on a vacation on a beach front, and they also have to mention where is this beach. It could be Goa, it could be Philippines, it could be Andamans, it could be Spain. whatever they feel like. So this is your second context of what I'm going to speak about. So here is just an example. Hi, look at my friends. We have just finished a vacation, and as we finished the vacation, our parents decided to take us to the wonderful beaches of Goa. And if you could see the beautiful calm waters, this is the best day of my life. I have my two friends with me, and one is Annie and other one is Jamie. And Annie and Jamie, they are actually enjoying. You can see Jamie sitting on a green castle and he thinks he is a king. By the way, my name is Mary, and I think this is a wonderful way to spend your summer vacations. I wish every day was a day on the beach. You saw the kind of adding. So you gave names to characters, you told the place name, you put a context to it, and you were part of it. So part of the speech as we spoke about. That's my second part of it. So they're just improving on it. The third part is, now while I do, the word startle comes in. So imagine if they're sitting on a beach, and of course I hate to spoil it, but what if there was a huge sea monster coming from a beach, or maybe tsunami? So now that's where the startle comes in. Everything remains same, and as they speak on, they suddenly say, oh, as I was playing with my friends Jamie, Mary and myself, suddenly I saw this huge wave. It was 20 feet high, and in the wave I could see some marine animals coming at me, and they were coming at a speed of light. I didn't know what to do. I screamed for my father's help, and I realized it was just a dream. So maybe that's the public speaking. You enjoy the process, you talk about the whole thing, and you will take it forward as you go ahead. That's my I1. I'll take it forward to I2, which is the second part of public speaking, and this is a very important part which we call as salutation. Sometimes if you know the script, if you know the basic idea of a speech, you probably will do a much better job in just conveying the idea. So when I do salutation, every good speech has a good beginning. So we're not talking about the middle and the end. All we are doing is the beginning. And in my beginning, I'm saying, how do you use the right salutations? Everybody loves a good greeting. And what we would do is the right salutation. So it's a small I2 is a game we are doing on just combining the salutation with the occasion. So when it is early morning, you say good morning. If you're on the phone, what would you do? And do not restrict yourself to just one kind of salutation. So when we say good evening, it's after 6 p.m. But how about good night? Can we open up a conversation saying hello, good night, because you call in the night and you realize that's not the right salutation? You always say good evening, however late it is in the night. When you end the call or end the conversation, you can always say good night. What about at the church or at any holy place, a place of worship? Probably you can start with peace be on you, you can start with may God be with you, or if you're a Yoda fighter like one of us, the Star Wars, may the force be with you. So a different salutation for a different audience becomes very important. Perhaps just because I enjoyed the word Star Wars, and for our kids that's the kind of salutations you might talk about. So how about Avengers salutation? This is a small sub activity. Each Avenger would have a different salutation. So can we have an Iron Man give a salutation? Of course, the easiest one would be when you start saying good morning. But how about Iron Man says, may you be strong, and it's an Iron Man. A Hulk, oh, let the world be green. Or Captain Marvel says, there are multiverses, and I say hello from one of the multiverse. I don't know what makes a good salutation, but it makes a good game. And the students at least know that the first 1 to 10 seconds of the speech, they don't have to mumble for it. They come and they say, hi, I am Misbah, I am Sophia, and I would like to speak on. And when you have a mental note of first 30 seconds of your speech, remember the next 30 minutes of speech becomes very easy. So I'll repeat what I said. When you teach them the first 30 seconds of your speech what to do, the flow is important. It's like in cricket, the first ball for a batsman is very important. When he makes the first run, so he doesn't want to get out on a duck or a zero. After that, the second, third runs becomes easier. So that's the whole idea of salutation. What kind of salutations would you do for a good speech? And they must come up, and Avengers would be a great example. The occasions could be great examples. Audiences could be great examples. So what kind of salutation would you give to a senior citizen and students? Hi would be good for teenagers, and how are you doing? Or if it's a grim situation where you're talking about good morning everybody, I understand that you have taken a lot of time and pain to be here, and I appreciate you giving us your valuable time. Just make a student memorize this part of it. So a longer salutation, as I said, 30 minutes, 30 seconds, gives you a space to start preparing yourself, looking at the audience and making eye contact. And this is a simple salutation game, and you can actually make a chart with the audiences, 5 audiences. So we have age 0 to 10, which is kindergarten and primary kids, then 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30, and like that you have different audience. Let them know the audience and let them make different salutations for each audience. The final one, I3 and I4, is about a public speaker. And when I say a public speaker, we have taken India's most famous speaker, Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was invited to speak at the United States, and this is way back, so we are talking about very early days when he was invited, and his salutation was what surprised the audience. It is much before 1893, 11 September, a date that has been cherished and memorized and also celebrated whenever it comes the Chicago speech, as we call it. Have you heard the Chicago speech? So a good teacher would get the transcript of the speech, and probably you can read the script for a child. I had one of my classmates become a Vivekananda, so he had a nice saffron turban, a robe there, and he addressed the audience. You can have that as a role play where somebody actually plays the great Swami, and it will be wonderful. He was a great speaker, a dynamic speaker, and that's my first part of it. So you talk about who delivered, how it was delivered, find it on YouTube, and I'm sure there might be somebody impersonating him on his great speech, and you can do that. Now, that would be the first one of what Vivekananda's speech is about. On I4, and I'll do that, I have 3 different activities. So the first one is I'll continue that. His salutation was Sisters and Brothers of America. Now that's amazing, isn't it? When you go to a place which is unexpected and they don't expect you to come and speak, and because you speak on Indian ethos and Indian culture, he said, for us, the world is a kutum, world is one family. So we all are brothers and sisters, as the Bible would say, we all are children of Adam. So he started saying sisters and brothers, and it took the people, that was startled, that it took the people by surprise. The moment you say a very good opening line, you believe that the audience will be with you if your speech is good enough with the rest of it. So that you already taken them, grab their attention. There are a lot of words that he said: arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. What a lovely statement. It will also help us for our next theme on goal setting. But that's what Vivekananda did. He lit the Chicago audience on fire. So now you look at these sentences he said. These are quotes of Swami Vivekananda. A man has his immortality who is disturbed by nothing material. So you start understanding and say to the students, what do you mean by these parts, the quotes? And perhaps my second part of a good speech is, how many quotes can you memorize? And quotes are what I call as fillers. So this is the second part. First part is with Vivekananda's speech, and the entire part of the speech, what they liked and what they did. You heard the speech, you did the transcript, you did the role play. That's my part 1. Part 2 is, since we spoke about the quotes, how many quotes can they memorize? And common quotes are like fillers. When I say fillers, what I mean by it is, in case you forgot something, you can always use a quote. A stitch in time saves 9. It is a very generic quote, but what happens is when you give a quote like that, it's always nice for the audience to look up and say, okay, you can connect it. So make a child remember, say, 5 quotes, very common quotes. After a quote, you can also make them remember a small 4-line couplet. For example, my teacher taught me the world is an echo, the good, the bad, the ugly. So give the world the best you have, and the best returns back to you. It's poetic, it's rhythmic, and it's so nice. You memorize it. If you forget a speech, or even if you want to make a good speech, you add this nice couplet, you add this nice poem, and suddenly everyone wants to look at you. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. How amazing an ending is this? Any speech, anywhere, it could be corporate pitch or it could be a motivation presentation, this fits in as an ending. And when you give an ending like that, it gives a rousing applause. So you can use. I have another one I can tell you. God moves in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. He plants his footstep on the sea and rides upon the storm. Now, look at the melancholy, look at the rhythm of it, and you must teach the quotes to your children, and that would be my public speaking lesson number 2 for you. Lesson number 3, because we're talking about a public figure, how about introducing them to some more of YouTube speeches of people who are leaders? And that's a question we ask: do leaders need to be good speakers? Of course, I wrote a book where it says leaders must be readers, but leaders must also be speakers. So we have the concept of which leaders are good readers. So you can give an example of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs has a very popular speech which says, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It's also the name of a very popular book. So it's a Stanford speech that Steve Jobs gave, where he says, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." You can ask them what it means. It's a very complicated word. What it means is, keep the curiosity on, be foolish to ask silly questions, but you will learn a lot. That's what Steve Jobs says. Then MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., one of my favorite apartheid activists, says, "I have a dream." Just a simple word, "I have a dream," but he uses so often in his speech that it remembers. People remember his speech with this "I have a dream." If you have time in your class, then you can take extracts from the movie Selma, or if you are yourself a black activist, black right activist, then that's a great movie for you to watch. It's a side note, but these are my lessons on public speaking. One of the most important things that for you to do. Hopefully you can take it forward with your classes and you enjoy a great public speaking podium.